Welcome back to Trigger Point Tuesdays. It's Kyle here. We're back with Adam. He's been in a couple of our videos. And what we're going to look at today is the health of the Achilles tendon. So last week, if you didn't know, one of the top level athletes, Kobe, ruptured his Achilles. And if you haven't seen that video on YouTube, I would say to go back and watch it because he's not doing anything crazy. He just steps back literally, a move he's done probably a million times, and the Achilles ruptures. And what you see right after that, he immediately goes straight to the ground. So then that tells us, obviously, the health of the Achilles is very important. So with Adam here, the first thing we're going to have him do is go through a few squats. Now what I want you to do is straighten up your feet. We're going to reach straight to the sky because that's going to expose a little bit of the core. And just go through a few squats. And as he's coming down here, we're going to look at his right side. Notice how initially it wants to turn out. First thing that we see. And the next thing we see, here on the inside, we have this little navicular bone, which I'm not sure if you can see from that angle, but it starts to drop down towards the floor. All right, go ahead and relax there. Spin around for us. And what we want to look at now, if we take into consideration what's happening here at the Achilles, we want this to be nice and straight, because this right here is going to tell us if this is taking any kind of undue pressure. So if this foot flattens, we can see that the Achilles, it's not too pronounced in him, but that Achilles will start to bend from the calcaneus coming up into the soleus. If that's the case, then every time he takes a step, that Achilles has to go through a rotational pattern within the sheath, and that starts to decrease the quality because it limits the amount of blood flow and just the position that we have. Now, one of the things we need to think about here, flat-footed position. People say all the time, I was born with flat foot. In reality, less than 1% of the population is ever diagnosed as having a structural flat foot, meaning that the bones actually don't support an arch. We're not born with good arches. Good arches are made through walking in multiple planes of motion as kids and on different surfaces. So what ends up happening is we have a functional flat foot. The intrinsic muscles of the foot can't support it, and then we start to get shortening of all these muscles out here. So a big one is the Peroneus Longus. Peroneus Longus is a muscle that comes here from the fibular head. It's going to run right down here. It wraps behind the lateral malleolus, comes right here in this nice little groove of the fifth metatarsal, and actually comes all the way back over to the inside of the foot, attaches to the base of the first ray, or that big toe, and supports some of the bones here. So if that rolls flat, we shorten Peroneus Longus. One more little fun fact here, this attaches to the lateral hamstring, which also comes up to help stabilize the sacroiliac joint. So problems here can lead to problems here. Now, how we're going to address that is our Proteus Manipulation. So we'll have Adam turn around, and because of the size of his leg, we're going to go ahead and go with the quad baller. And for time, we're going to go to zones 3 and 4. So we have zones 1, zone 2, zone 3, and zone 4. It's very important here that we make sure and get to that fibular head because we have to mobilize that, what's called the proximal tibiofibular joint. All right, so to start off here, I'm going to give him a little bit of assistance. We're just going to work through the zone. So he's going to be sure and breathe. We're going to come down about an inch, up about an inch, down about an inch, up about an inch. We're repeating that 4 times. There's 3. One more is 4. Now cross friction. Very important to get that cross friction on these mechanically shortened muscles because we have to reintroduce that length. All right, now we're going to come up to zone 4. Now for zone 4, we have to be sure and get to that fibular head. Are we getting to it there?
Yes.
Any tenderness in that?
Yes.
Yeah. So we oftentimes talk about not rolling joints. So we're not putting a ton of pressure here. We just need to get to that. So we're going 4 times, 1 more here. And now we're going to go back to it and we're going to get that cross friction. So here we're trying to create a little bit of mobility right there in that area. And we'll go 1 more right through there. Perfect. So remember that was just the top 2. We have 2 other zones to hit. So let's go ahead and hop on up. And let's go back into that squat. So we'll get a nice front view, take the hands back up overhead, bring your feet in a little bit closer together and a little bit straighter, and go ahead and come on down. And you'll see still a little bit of rotation out in that foot, but a little bit better stability there on the inside part. So just a couple of minutes on that. It wasn't even a couple of minutes. We get us some extra motion in there, get us a little bit better stability, and then over time we can start to create those changes and really stabilize that foot. Does it feel any different?
Yes.
Very good. So, health of the Achilles tendon, we have to look at the frontal plane motion and transverse plane motion of that foot, because that's what determines the quality of the Achilles. So, be sure you do the soleus manipulation, which we've done in the past. Here we just went over the Peroneus Manipulation. Keep working on those. Any questions?
No.
That's all we've got this time. We'll see you next week for Trigger Point Tuesday.